So I've dropped him off at before care and they take him to school and then I come home and go to sleep. So I roll over, gotta get up and use the bathroom. And I look over at my phone and I see that I've got at least one missed call from my mom and at least one missed call from the school. Well, I called the school back first. So, answer the phone and it's, hey, Miss Jordan, just looking, this is assistant principal. Having some concerns about Miles right now. If you could give me a call back as soon as possible. And so I roll over and then I look at my mom's call and I listen to her voicemail and listen, let me tell y'all something. Grandparents are hypocrites. If it was me, she would have wanted my grandmother to go up to the school and whip my behind. But she's like, yeah, girl, I think he must have cussed or something. So, just call him back and, see what's going on with him. So I call him back and she starts telling me, basically they can't get him to settle down. He's being very, defiant, and I'm using air quotations because words mean things. And so defiant is kind of has like a underlying message of like I understand some things, and while he may have some defiance in him, I don't believe that this was what we were dealing with. I think we were dealing with a lack of trust. But the other things that he was doing was they said he was fighting. Put a pin on that. They said he was fighting, and they said he was cursing. So I said, well, what did he say? Because newsflash, I cuss. And so they're like, what does he say? What did he say? And they said, he keeps saying, what the fuck? And so I'm like, okay, like, all right, I cuss a lot. But what the fuck is not a phrase that I use. Like, I gotta kind of be exasperated, like something's going on, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I don't just, ask people like, what the fuck are you doing? Or, what the fuck do you want? It's and also there's a lot that I don't say in front of him because number one, I don't curse him. I wasn't raised like that. Like a lot of people say, my mama cussed me out. That's fine. It probably would have been fun if my mama would have cussed me out. But my parents they just didn't curse us. They didn't curse around us. And so while I curse around him, sometimes I didn't curse him. So it just like slipped my mind that, these kids go to school and you find out all the bad habits they have when they go to school. You find out about your bad habits. And so I'm just kind of like, okay, so, oh goodness. And so the assistant principal is like, listen, I just want you to come up here because I want him to see that you will come. Like, we can't get him to listen to me. So, in that moment, I'm full on my mom and my daddy. Like, I'm hot, I'm pissed. Like, I got this kid that's not listening to anybody. Also, like, when I talked to my therapist was like, he doesn't trust them, and why should he? And I agreed with that. But at the same time, the conditioning that a lot of us have is just kids should obey grown-ups, not taking into consideration that kids are people too, and you have to develop a dynamic with them for them to listen to you. So in any case, I walk in. First thing they do is they take me into the principal's office. So the assistant principal is who called that we go into the principal's office. Assistant principal turns towards me, open body language. I'm big on body language and tone. Open body language, and it's just kind of like, listen, this is what is going on. I'm noticing, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't care what I say about this lady, okay? Because my experience was horrible, and I hope that no other parent is ever spoken to in a principal's office, an active parent who is trying to get solutions and get their child acclimated into school. I hope they never encounter a principal like this principal that I encountered. So notate, I don't care how I regard to her. I won't over exaggerate, but I'm going to tell the truth about her. So she's just kind of turned to the side and just kind of has like a little bit of a smug look on her face. And, you know, the assistant principal's like, the first thing we're gonna try is grace, okay? She said, we got to give some grace because this is his first time in school. Then she said, but if we, take a little time and this is not the right environment for him, then this may be we may have to have a different conversation. The principal basically says, yeah, we may have to have this conversation in a couple of weeks. So listen, I'm not stupid by any stretch of imagination. I know that 2 weeks is not enough time for a child to adjust into a brand new environment, especially when said child has been in the same environment since birth. The only thing that changed since birth was he started going to daycare at 3 months. And so some parents bounce their kids around, and I didn't like the way such and such did such and such. So, I'm just going to go take them to another daycare, then take them to another daycare. And by the time the child goes to school, they've been to 2 or 3 daycares. And, sometimes rightfully so, but sometimes because the parent was being nitpicky. And while I definitely readily identify as a helicopter mom, I am definitely a helicopter mom, I am not that parent. Any difficulties I had with my daycare, I worked through them, especially because they are very loving people. So, but I just kind of brushed the principal off in this moment because I'm more concerned about my kid than I am anything that you have to say right now. So she takes me through the school. The kids are sitting down eating a snack. So we walk Miles over to me and I have a conversation with him. But what I also was thinking about was earlier like the week before, I had a conversation with the cafeteria manager. And I noticed that the staff in there wasn't very diverse, but cafeteria manager sounded like auntie, And so because she sounded like an auntie, and I don't trust these people, because I don't trust you just because I don't trust you, not because they had done anything at this point in time. It was on my mind to find the cafeteria manager if I could, so that I could have an extra set of eyes on him, because sometimes you need people of your own culture to translate what your child is doing. Because we can say, I don't see this and I don't see this, but children raised in different households and different cultures mean different things when they say and do things. You know what I mean? So they bring him to me and I lay it on to him real firm, and I let him know what he is not to do and who he is to listen to. And he's just, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. And I hang around with them for a little while. So they go back to class and I see exactly what they're talking about. He's new to this environment and he is out of control. He is out of control. He is not accustomed to being around so many kids his age. So I have a conversation with his teacher and I tell her, you got to be firm, you got to be direct. It can't be a suggestion. When you're talking to a 5-year-old, listen, I even hate to say it like this, but sometimes talking to a 5-year-old is like talking to a puppy. You have to give a command. You don't suggest that they do something. Do this. So if a 5-year-old child is running, you don't say, hey, you might want to stop running. It's stop. And then say no running, because they need to listen to the command that you're giving them, And so I hang around and I see, I actually left the school in tears that day because I didn't know this kid. So I'm like, okay, so y'all told me he's fighting. He doesn't fight. He got his big cousins that he beat up on, but at his old daycare, they were concerned that he was going to get bullied, And so now y'all telling me that he's fighting, he's cursing, nobody's ever heard him do any of this before. And now all of a sudden he's doing it. And I'm literally thinking about it just like this. I just have to be honest with myself. I was just like, what the hell is wrong with my kid? Next part.